focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. YES Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
In the upcoming panel discussion, we will aim to explore India's journey towards achieving global competitiveness through innovation and robust production capabilities.
I'm going to start by asking Mr. Sai Prasad about his thoughts, his thoughts on innovation. Are you seeing a big shift when it comes to, say, the perception about India as an innovation hub?
We follow a pathway of innovation. We follow a pathway of product development. We follow a pathway of looking at public health factors, not just in India, but other parts of the developing world. Maybe we're not as focused as high-income countries like US and Europe. We're focused more on middle-income countries and low-income countries, but we're focused on infectious diseases. And we have already proven we are 25 years old as a company. We've proven that we can demonstrate innovation and product development over an extended period of time. So we've had products and projects in our company for over 15 or 20 years, like a rotavirus vaccine or a typhoid conjugate vaccine, that we have developed over a long period of time, and then they're in the market today in over 80 countries around the world. So we've shown that. And those products are not just a Me Too or a copycat generic. We actually have to do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials, and also conduct product life cycle management studies for safety and effectiveness post-licensure. So we've done that, we've shown that, and in the future, that pipeline of innovation and R&D is continuing with products for cholera, malaria, TB, and chikungunya. So I think we have shown how to do R&D for innovative products which don't exist in any other part of the world.
But Naveen, I wanted to get your thoughts with regards to the shift that we're seeing when it comes to the perception about India as an innovation hub, and the fact that there's so many R&D centers, in fact, being set up in Hyderabad itself.
Yeah, thanks. Really pleased to be here. So I represent Novartis, one of the most innovative healthcare companies in the world, and clearly there's a definite theme and preference for healthcare companies here, which is nice to see. You mentioned capability centers, and it's really nice to also see that capability centers have become mainstream. I've been in this space for 20 years. Novartis has been here for 12 years. And it's really difficult for us to explain what we do in India relative to the global organization. But I think it's now probably very evident that India brings to the table a lot of skills. Any of the Novartis leaders will tell us that we're in India because we think for the next 25 years, this is where we can find the best talent, be it science, be it technology, be it technical knowledge, and be it digital, coupled with a massive demographic advantage of really young people who bring all this knowledge together.
That's actually interesting. You mentioned that a lot of people don't know what you all do in Hyderabad. So I'm going to ask you, because Novartis's operations center, which is the largest of 6 centers in the world, is present in Hyderabad. What is the advantage that Novartis gets specifically from India and from Hyderabad, and what does that center do?
Yeah, so with nearly 10% of the company, we operate in almost all areas of the organization. So we have some support for research, but a lot of drug development teams are based here. A lot of the teams that support our marketing and sales and operations are based here. This is in addition to the labs. We have labs in Genome Valley that do technical research and development. And finally, we have the usual functions that most capability centers have, which is technology, finance, and so many other processes. So we have a whole sea of operations. This is one location where you can actually see the whole company in office working together. That's what we have in the capability center here.
Okay. Well, Anurag, your focus is agri-infrastructure, making sure that India has more efficient grain storage. How is innovation being effectively used in that sector for a country such as India?
Right. So, thank you, first of all. It's a pleasure to be here. So, what we do at Leap India is we help the government of India modernize its food storage infrastructure. So, traditionally, grain has been handled in bags and stored in warehouses. Now, that has been modernized or is being modernized. So, the government is moving from bag to bulk, and food storage silos is one of the key enablers there. So, if you look at tech in food storage, traditionally, there has been no tech. Grain was procured, stored forever for 6 months, for a year in a warehouse. There's no proper way to fumigate. But now, if you look at all the new tech and innovation coming in, the grain that we store in these food storage silos, are monitored on an hourly basis, on a minute-to-minute basis, wherein we make sure that there's proper aeration, proper fumigation that takes place. There's SCADAs that has been implemented into this, and now, the government of India has implemented something called as Depot Online system, wherein all the warehouses and silos are totally connected to a centralized system, wherein the government today knows what kind of grain is available where, what consumption happens where. So, tech actually helps the Food Corporation of India, in my opinion, benefit a lot real time when it comes to making sure that grain is accessible to people. Because imagine this, like India feeds almost 1 billion people every year, right, under the Food Security Act. Imagine grain not being available in a district for 2 or 3 days. That would be chaos, right? So tech plays a very key role there.
Okay. Well, one of the key points about your industry in specific would be scalable solutions when it comes to innovation. How difficult is it to get a scalable solution when it comes to R&D?
So if you look at R&D, right, it's a continuous process, like what Mr. Sai Prasad just said. Their process of R&D is throughout, and it's a continuous process. So for any tech company also, I think it's the same. And when it comes to scalable solution in my sector, I think, look, again, the number I just mentioned, India feeds about 1 billion people. That's a lot of scale, right? And the government only procures maybe 35% of food grain directly. Still 65% is being handled by the open market, where storage is a big potential. So a lot of these solutions will play a key and an important role there. And I think there's a lot of room for scalable solutions here. And if you benchmark us to countries like Canada and America, tech has played a very critical role in scalability and storage.
YES Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance. YES Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
Well, Mr. Jain, you're also in the infrastructure space. You also have a Center of Engineering Excellence, which is present in Hyderabad. How does that center help you innovate within your sector of infrastructure?
So let me give you some sort of background of our company. This is also infra-based company, but prima facie it is one form of the construction actually, pre-engineered steel building fabrication, and of course, after doing the designing, fabrication and installation of the site. So we are the pioneer of this concept in India. 2.5 decades back, somewhere in 2000, we have started our first operational facility in Hyderabad. Then eventually over a period of last 25 years, we have expanded our presence in India in different states. Now we are operating with the 3 manufacturing units in India, Gujarat, Uttarakhand and Telangana. Over and above, this is a multinational company, Middle East, Kuwait-based group. And altogether, I can say in this particular business group level, we are from last more or less 5 decades. We started this business in 1975 by acquisition from America, this company and technology. So this is really exciting things. And initial years when we have entered into India, I can say there was a lot of struggle to, to teach the people what type of technology we are using for making the construction, because generally people are used to of conventional construction like brick, cement, steel and all. But now I can say if you see a lot of turnaround it is happening. Eventually, a lot of players has also emerged along with us in last 2.5 decades. They are also doing pretty well. And India, the industry itself, it has gone more or less 2 million ton steel fabrication over a period of time. And we'll see huge potential growth, specifically last 2 years post-COVID. We are expecting this industry should grow 15% year-on-year basis for next 5 years. And one more thing about Center of Excellency, we would like to see, because of great talent available in India and competitiveness for entire global operation, where we are operating in Middle East, India, as well as Southeast Asia. We have set up this Center of Excellency here. Altogether, we have around 250 MTech engineers who are working with us. And workforce-wise, with all these three plants, more or less 5,000 people, blue collar and white collar, directly employ with us. So definitely I can say this is one of the concepts which is now very commonly known in the industry. And I mean, along with us, so many other people have also emerged, but still we are dominating our market leadership in this business.
Okay, we are growing 15% year on year. How much of that is probably going into R&D?
R&D, basically, this is one of the part, actually, our business is composite contract, which consists of engineering, fabrications, as well as erection. So the bifurcation, it is very difficult to see because it is part of the package deal of composite. But I can say engineering is one of the basic element which start from the quotation or inquiry of the particular project, and that is a very key element for starting our business. So in terms of percentage of our total value, it's difficult to prescribe it, but I can say it is instrumental for getting our business.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Prasad, one of the key things is that Bharat Biotech has obviously been at the forefront of innovation, especially during COVID, and it taught us that innovation is possible on an expedited basis. So what are the key learnings from that phase that we can take away for us to probably maybe expedite R&D, and how is AI and ML probably playing a role in that as well?
Thank you. I think what is important for many of us to learn is that I think most people around the world think that companies that were able to develop products during the pandemic were first-time novices that tried to do something and it became successful. The answer is these are entities, whether it's Pfizer or Moderna or us or any of the AstraZeneca, they had decades and decades of experience doing R&D, doing innovation, but failing at it many a times and learning from it. And that's what happened with us. Many of our other vaccines that we developed, some of them were successful, some of them were failures, but we learned from it. And when the pandemic hit, we kind of knew exactly what to do. What are all the activities that we could do? What accelerated during the pandemic? Obviously, we committed a lot more funding into our own internal R&D program for Covaxin. If you think about it, at that time, it was almost 40% of our revenues that we committed towards R&D very aggressively prior to funding from the government or any other international agency. So that was the risk that we took. It could have gone north, it could have gone south. Luckily for us, it went north. But the perspective is that with that kind of funding, what we were able to do is that we were able to do thousands and thousands of experiments in parallel. Without waiting for the results, we would design the next set of experiments. And that is something that we don't do in standard product development. It's very empirical. We do a series of experiments, we wait for the results, and we hypothesize, design the next set of experiments. We go in that direction. So that's what we did during the pandemic. And I don't know if that can be replicated again during peacetime. In terms of using AI and ML, we are more, as of now at least, we're focused on using AI and ML in our manufacturing. We're trying to incorporate that into our QC testing, into our manufacturing activities. As a large-scale vaccine manufacturer, we have a lot of activities called qualification and validation and calibration of equipment. These are high-end electronic, mechanical equipment. But then those we are leveraging AI and machine learning to figure out when is the right time to do calibrations, when is the right time to do validations, whether all the equipment, it was very common for us if we have 8,000 pieces of equipment, they all come on a standardized calibration schedule without knowing whether it's meaningful or meaningless, the data. Now using AI, we're able to predict which equipment needs to be calibrated when, and so that we can go forward that way.
Okay. Well, Naveen, one of the themes which I think Mr. Reddy also touched upon is basically the China plus one factor playing out. How substantially is it playing out from an MNC's perspective currently? And do you think that it's a tangible opportunity for India, especially considering that we have the US elections? There's a chance that the Republicans could come back. So in that context, how big an opportunity is
I think
it?
in terms of capability centers, India has always been the leader. So over 50% of the centers in the world are based in India already because of strong language skills, science skills, technology skills, and the demographics, as I said. So for international companies, this continues to be even more attractive location now, given that the companies want to leverage the centers for transformation, digitization beyond just getting work done. They also want to move forward in the work, really. So I think this is already playing out very nicely for India.
Okay. All right. Well, Anurag, the company has received funding from the likes of CDC, maybe I think around 2 to 3 years ago. The funds were expected to actually encourage infrastructure in low-income states. Give us a sense in terms of the progress of the projects, as well as whether that's opened the door for funding within the space that you operate in.
Sure. So we Leap as a company, right? I think if you look at agri-infrastructure in India, it's a relatively new thing that's being modernized. The opportunity started coming out in the last 5 to 6 years, and we at Leap have been forefront to it. And we've been supported by very good, credible investors like GIC, CDC, and all you've just mentioned. And I think companies like us have a responsible role to play in encouraging young entrepreneurs, because if you look at India, what I was just mentioning, 1.4 billion of population and millions of opportunities, right? And in India, when you try to do things the first time, it doesn't happen, but if you're persistent, it does work. So I think my 2-point take here would be that agri-infrastructure is very key, and AI plays a very critical role in helping it scale and being competitive, because India can't afford expensive agri-infrastructure.
Bharat Biotech, would they probably look to maybe diversify into small molecule R&D?
At the current time, no. We're focused heavily on large molecules. Vaccines, we're looking at certain, I wouldn't call it biosimilars, but monoclonal antibodies, novel ones. And also we're looking at gene therapy as the next step of what we should be doing as an organization. But we're also focused on infectious diseases. We're focused on tropical diseases. We're focused on the diseases of low-income countries and middle-income countries. We're not focused on US and Europe, at least at the current time.
So you're working for India to probably get better, to get to that $10 trillion economy.
Absolutely. I mean, we expect, I know the $10 trillion economy is not, I know somewhere in your write-up, you called it a dream. I request you not to call it a dream. It's a matter of, it's a matter of when, it's not a matter of if. I'm sure about it. And I mean, I make a very simple statement. Less than 10% of our country's needs are met, population-wise. If you think about it, 90% of our country, their basic needs have to be met.
Yeah.
And if all of industry or agriculture, services, we work towards providing those needs, I think 10 trillion will go way past 10 trillion.
Okay. Well, Anurag, just leave us with one line, and I'm going to ask the panelists just a brief one line about what is the one measure which you think India needs to take to get to that $10 trillion economy?
I think people are very important, and upskilling and reskilling is really important.
Okay. All right. Pawan?
I believe skill upgradation is very important, and we need to do a lot of things in this area.
Okay. And Naveen?
India needs to be science-focused, needs to pivot to trusting and believing and investing in science.
Okay, all right. Investing in science, reskilling and upgradation of the workforce.
And lose the fear of failure. Fail early, fail often, and learn from that failure.
Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining into this very innovative discussion. And let's see, maybe reskilling, upgradation, as well as investment in science is something that we need to focus on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
YES Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.